All right, we gotta do it. Time to talk about Westworld season 2. Um, why don't we each say something we liked about this season before we completely tear it apart?
Yeah, so coming into season two, I
Mm,
was optimistic that with more time, with a more conventional, less troubled production, uh, Joe Nolan and Lisa Joy would make a more compelling season of TV. A lot of times the first season, you iron out the kinks. This is really present on broadcast television. The cast kind of feels itself out and you figure things out. And this is, the prestige show for HBO. It's soon to be their most expensive show once Thrones finishes up next year, and
mhm.
they already renewed it for season three, and they have grand plans for this, obviously. And there's a lot of good talent involved, and I really had high expectations, and then, um, like we've both alluded to, wasn't really a fan of the season, but I do think there were some highlights. I think overall the show is still really strong at world building overall, in terms of making interesting settings and uh, premises that it often will not do enough with. Um,
Mhm.
and then I think when the show does just get really expository, um, it usually can do that kind of well. The problem usually is though that it's a bunch of ridiculous nonsense. But when it does, go down that path, I think it works. And I thought there was actually some really good episodes in this. Riddle of the Sphinx, and then
Katsuya.
Katsuya episode 8,
Yep.
in particular, really stood out. Um, and the reason they stood out is those are shows or episodes with they have multiple timelines, but they actually work together. They pay off together. It's a arc that you can understand and gets pays off by the end of the episode, while also still somewhat serving the grander narrative of the season.
Hmm.
And Westworld actually shows with those episodes the potential the show has when
Yep.
it's not just trying to be obtuse and confusing for the sake of doing just that. So I think
And
again, like those moments, you're like, why can't we just get more of that? That's what people actually find entertaining.
yeah, Kikuya and Akane no Mai are probably the two that stood
Mm-hmm.
out to me the most. And the thing about both those episodes is there's a pretty traditional setup. The thing about Westworld that I give it credit for, because I think it's an admirable way to approach TV shows, but I think also is incredibly difficult, is that they're trying to really make nobody the bad guy, but nobody the good guy either. And when you don't really have a side that you're rooting for, or someone that you feel like you're totally behind, it can be hard to get traction for a show. But in those episodes, that you're rooting for I forgot, didn't write his name down, but the ghost warrior in Kicks.
Was it Akechi?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Akachi, I think it is right.
Zane. What McWilliamson from Fargo season 2? Love the
Yeah,
actor.
yeah, he's fantastic. And then Akane no Mai, that you're rooting for Maeve, but you're rooting for Maeve's Shogun twin,
Mm-hmm.
or her long
Mm-hmm.
whatever, same person, different body. Uh, it just kind of sets up a different structure, and those are kind of like bottle episodes almost in a way, in a season that in a show that's so dependent on all these interlocking and interweaving stories. And really, I was sitting there watching this finale last night, and I was like, I literally said to myself 3 times, I have no idea what's going on. Like I was so lost at parts. um and I think it's because, one, this show doesn't grab my attention, so I'm not paying as close attention as something like you would The Wire or Breaking Bad, where you're looking for every little detail. But also, it's just there's so many different things you have to be thinking about. And this is a show that I think we talked about last year. You have to really want to read about this show and learn about this show
Oh, yeah.
past watching it, I
Ain't
think, in
for
order to
Reddit.
really get it. It's that for me, unless the show is really grabs you, which the show doesn't. um I'm not down for that right now. But I saw your tweets today. You said Westworld is not good.
Yeah.
Back
So,
up that take, Dave.
well, so season 1 is all about the mystery box. You don't realize, or
Mhm.
non-Reddit viewers don't understand that there's multiple timelines until the end, when it's revealed that, oh wait, Jimmy Simpson and Ed Harris, the Man in Black, and William are the same people in different timelines, right? And um, the whole build up with Ford, right? And it's kind of all building up to that, the reveal that there's multiple timelines. And then with season 2, I was like, oh, now they can be a little more conventional. Obviously, they'll still have their puzzles and stuff, but I thought they'd be a little more conventional for the sake of telling a better story. No, they have this present timeline, which basically undercuts all of the past timelines because there's no character growth at all. Let's see, Charlotte Hale, Tessa Thompson, an actress we love. She is incredibly one note the whole season because both in the past timeline and in the present timeline, she's still looking for Abernathy, looking for this shit in his head. So there's like no growth, and you already know that she doesn't find him in the past timeline. And speaking of that growth, I mean, Charlotte, Hale, Maeve, Dolores, and William, they don't change all season. William is literally doing the same thing in season 1 as he's doing in season 2, playing his demented, game he has within the Westworld.
Right.
And nothing changes for him the whole season. And Maeve does a lot of stuff. She's kind of pushing the plot in points, but her as a character doesn't really change.
She just becomes a superhero. That's the only way she changes, is she just is able to control people with her mind all of a sudden. Which isn't even explained how she's able to do that.
No, she just starts being able to like hack in via Bluetooth, I think is kind of how we grasp it, which, I mean, again, I don't care about leaps of logic. I just want it to be told in a better way. Right. So I actually am more apt to give things like that a pass. Again, it's a show about crazy sex robots and gratuitous violence. I'm willing to accept that someone could hack remotely via their head. That's not an issue with me. But it's just like, there's just so many like open plot questions that just exist to be questions. Like the whole thing with the Valley Beyond / Forge. What the fuck is the point of that beyond just being a weird question for everyone to figure out?
Right.
There's nothing compelling about it. And then I was actually really pissed once fucking Ford comes back. And Anthony Hopkins
I was just laughing.
Still cooking, age 80, no shots.
Keep getting
but
those checks.
Ford sucks as a character, incredibly fake deep. And now you just have him poisoning fucking Bernard, and you're just wasting Jeffrey Wright all season because Bernard has no idea what the fuck's going on or what he's done the whole time. Right. And it's just like having Ford come back doesn't make anything more clear about Ford's plan. Oh yeah, we get it. He started a robot revolution and he sides with the robots now. We didn't need you to expound upon that further,
Yeah, I hated Ford showing up in this season. I laughed at it though, because I was just like, of course they couldn't just let someone die on the show. I mean, the whole point about Ford,
he did die, but still having him come back.
He's actually like still a part of this narrative.
He's in the cloud.
Moving forward, he's in the cloud. No one knows he's in the cloud. Jeffrey Wright, I actually thought, for having a role where he's supposed to be confused and like waking up from like being shut down like constantly in this season, I thought had some of the best moments. Like, I'm never gonna forget, get out of my fucking head. Like I'm gonna use that gif forever, I think. I also think the stuff with Teddy was pseudo interesting because you got to see how changing these people, these bots' personalities, impacted them.
But it was undercut by the present timeline where he died.
Exactly.
Just floating in the water right away. So like it was hard for that to land with me. And I actually thought that was the first like moment of consequences for Dolores. It was like showing like actually it's I guess you could say it's growth for Teddy, but it's something's actually changing in Dolores' circumstances for once. But because we already had the moment spoiled for us, it only lands so well for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really have a lot of other thoughts on this. I mean, what do you think of the Delos stuff? I mean, that was kind of a bit of a bottle episode 2, showing how this project kind of came to be. Delos wanting to live forever within one of these robots, and seeing the Man in Black, or William, the Man in Black, his relationship with that.
Yeah, well, I thought Peter Mulan was really good as James Delos. I actually thought that arc, again, because that's primarily self-contained in one episode, I thought that worked really well. And like that room, kind of like shades of like 2001 Space Odyssey. I thought that was done really well. But again, like the show in general, it presents ideas like that, human condition, what is consciousness, freedom. I think freedom's a big theme for this whole season, but it doesn't want to show any of its work. It just wants to, just point your finger at that stuff and say, hey, see what we're doing? But then here's all these puzzles. Stare at that instead. So, and we've said this before, said this many times, but Dolores, I mean, whenever Dolores was on screen, her whole crew, I was just bored, just dull.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't really have too much else to say. This show, I have nothing to root for. My one theory on it is that the whole, the point of the show is to look at the human condition, what it means to be human. And being human is, I guess, one of the, if you really decide to be introspective and try to figure out humanity, one of the most confusing things to delve into and make sense of. I think maybe the show is going for that, just trying to kind of really not make sense at points and just keeping a mystery and like the mystery of life and what does it really mean to be alive. That'd be like the only way I can be rationalized the way the show has gone, but it's just been a major disappointment for me. Well, is there anything that could redeem this for you now? Because they're moving away from the Cowboys and Indians. They're going to go out into the real world, supposedly. Can this show gain back your trust as a viewer?
Well, they're clearly giving Tessa Thompson, assumingly more to do or more of a central role, because I think everything she was asked to do as Charlotte Hale, partially because of the unnecessary timelines, was pretty one note, no fault of hers. So that gives me hope. But I really don't see this staying like real world that much, just because you have all those hosts that are going to get reset, Hector and Maeve and everyone else, and we're gonna find our way back in the park. I just don't see how it's the main construct of the show. It's not going to totally go away. And then William is still alive despite getting shot like he was 50 Cent, so he's still there. I'm not really excited about anything he did because again, his character did not change for 20 hours.
Right, he's a bot now, right? That's the whole thing. He's now one of the hosts.
I mean, again, do I really care that much? I don't know. Whatever. I wanted more of his daughter, to be honest. I thought she was interesting in her, the relationship that she has with her dad and how her dad became basically a psychopath, and he was more obsessed with, like real world reality of real world, like augmented reality than he was his actual real life that really mattered. And I thought that was interesting, but they didn't really actually do it. They just kind of brought it up as something that happened.
Right.
So, and the fact that his daughter is back, I guess, as a bot, or we're supposed to think, opposite. I don't know. That's cool. I actually thought Lee Sizemore grew on me quite a lot this year as an ancillary character.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being a grating dick in season 1. But again, the fact that Dolores is still going to be involved in some capacity, whether it's with Tessa Thompson or not, just gives me pause because, she should just be the full villain, but because the show starts her out as the protagonist, it can't totally break away from that, despite her being incredibly villainous. So, in conclusion, it's, I'd like to see what other worlds they have. We know of 3 worlds now, and I think they said there's 6, right? So, the settings, the set pieces should be cool, but this season also had some set pieces that really annoyed me. I think I've seen enough situations where a guy with a P90 gets killed by a guy with a revolver,
Yeah.
And like in episode, I think 2 or 3, when they attacked the Confederados and they're like, let's walk in the field like we're British infantry and we'll attack you in these Jeeps with no doors. It's like,
makes no sense.
And I think the action could be better. And
I'm going to give it a chance
season 3, but I'm just very disappointed in this season and how it ended.
Yeah, just even one more thing that really pissed me off when Maeve, when she's like sitting there on the table and they're like about to kill her for good or end her host life, and the guy's like, "There's no pleasure without pain," and turns her pain meter all the way up, and then that like makes her able to like turn every dead robot, like rise them from the dead to kill a guy. I was just like, this show is shit. Like that's such bad, lazy writing and just like a obvious escape. I don't know.
It was unnecessarily obtuse and confusing with a dumb MacGuffin, the Data in Abernathy.
Exactly.
Peter Abernathy said. So it's, again, like I said, same thing I said in season 1. with better effort, you can make the show a lot better. It's just with this concept, this talent, and even this potential after a season, I'm just flabbergasted. This is what you decided was what you wanted to make, you know?
Yeah. Well, sounds like we're both out on Westworld.